Hello and welcome to ASEAN in Focus Weekend Edition. I'm Kaloy Tabundo Jr. from the New Era University School of Studies. For today's episode, we will be talking about women empowerment. Empowerment can be defined in many ways. It can be defined as a process that creates power in individuals over their own lives, society, and in their communities. People are empowered when they are able to access the opportunities available to them without limitations and restrictions, such as in education, profession, and lifestyle. When talking about women's empowerment, empowerment means accepting and allowing women who are on the outside of the decision-making process into it, because feeling entitled to make your own decisions creates a sense of empowerment. In this time and age, more and more individuals are advocating for women empowerment. In the Philippines, the state boosts women empowerment through Republic Act number 9710, known as the Magna Carta for Women, which is a comprehensive women's human rights law that seeks to eliminate discrimination against women by recognizing, protecting, fulfilling, and promoting the rights of Filipino women, especially those in the marginalized sectors. To help us discuss more about women empowerment, we're honored to have as guest today a former commissioner of the National Commission on the Role of Filipino Women, Dr. Fe B. Mangahas. Dr. Mangahas was also a member of the Board of Commissioners of the National Historical Commission, or NHCP, and she headed the Cultural Center of the Philippines Women's Program. Aside from that, she is also an author and co-author of textbooks on Philippine history and social studies, and her essays on women and babaylan feminism are significant grounding of feminism in Philippine culture and history. Welcome to the program, Dr. Mangahas. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, while the Philippines last week, the whole eyes of the country was transfixed to what's happening with the Southeast Asian Games, we were quietly observing the Human Rights Consciousness Week. What is the specific contribution of the women's sector in this celebration?
For our NGO, Women in Development, we are a member of the National Committee, Interagency Committee, organized by the Human Rights Commission, to launch the National Consciousness on Human Rights. And being a women's organization, we really focus on women's rights.
So what were your specific activities in celebration of the observance of the Human Rights Consciousness Week?
We launched it with the interagencies from various government organizations and NGOs. We had our own particular messages. But before that, Women in Development, we had an interfaith dialogue because of the notion that, you know, religion can be very oppressive. But at the same time, we are affirming that it is in religion that human rights are really respected. Because of human dignity, the human life is very precious and all that.
And the Philippines is one of the leading countries in the world when it comes to gender equality, which is strange since we are in Asia and most of our neighbors in Asia have issues on women's equality. How do you explain this?
Oh, maybe it's also historical, it's also geography, it's also culture, because the Philippines, we are gifted with abundant resources and a very benign, friendly climate in the sense that, well, of course, we are visited by typhoons and earthquakes, but generally, we have very fertile soil. And so it did not require much human effort or physical power to produce food. So early enough in our society, women were active in production, in bringing home, bringing home the food, feeding the family. It was not a particularly man's job. So everybody was there in the productive area.
Okay, that part of our history, which actually an explanation of why are we like this, is not so much covered in our history books.
Unfortunately. But I have written about it. I have tried my best to really call that our indigenous women's consciousness is not feminism from the West. While it worked for them, we have our own. I call it babaylan feminism because we cannot avoid also absorbing some of the influences from the West. But babaylan feminism is very deep in our unconscious. So historians must really project it in our narratives, especially when we're talking about prehistory. And there, in prehistoric times, we had 4 leaders of authorities, and they were the Datu, who was in charge of political affairs and defense and economy. And we had the Panday, the technological expert.
The Smith.
Panday, the Smith, blacksmith, in charge of technology, you know. And then we had the warrior, the Bagani, in defense of the community, and the Babaylan, which is really unique to us. But I don't think it's really unique to us because I had a study. They had it also in Indonesia, and Malaysia, and probably Vietnam. Maybe this is something common among the ASEAN countries, but we have not made enough studies about it. That we had these women who were practically priests. They were practically historians because they were the epic chanters. They could recite the memory of the tribe.
So they were also the historians, but oral historians.
Oral.
Okay.
They kept the memories of their people and their tribes and their communities. And then they were the doctors. They were the healers. They knew so much of nature, plants and what would cure, what diseases could be cured by certain plants. And they knew about weather systems. So sometimes the warriors would consult them, is it time to go to war? Is it time to plant? Is it time to harvest? Because they were like proto-scientists in a way. They knew a lot about nature because women was close to nature. And so early enough, I think in the Philippines or in Southeast Asia or ASEAN, we have to make a study on this together, that the women really had an important role in the production, in culture, in spirituality, and in health matters, and so on.
So such power given to women.
Women are not really gung-ho about power. It's more about keeping the community whole and healthy and fed and clothed and happy, and you know, women are not gung-ho about power. We're not crazy
the term
about
is
power.
influence, because the farmers cannot go to the farms without first consulting the Babaylan. The warriors cannot go to war without first consulting the Babaylan. And of course, perhaps the Dato would ask for signs. And of course, the Babaylan is predominantly composed of women.
Women and elderly women. They have to be women of wisdom, not just women who are still teenagers or young women, but really elderly women.
I've seen accounts, drawings of pre-colonial times in the Philippines. I saw some pictures that communities, groups of people walking together. The women are in front.
Always?
I saw some pictures like that.
Yeah, it's not strange to us, but in other countries, it would be difficult to imagine, especially during their earlier colonial periods, because the women have to be behind the men. Because in their societies, the men were required because of their prowess in defense, in production, in practically everything.
Sa atin, walang naging problema.
Well, not so much because the women were used to being there, especially if they had a barangay meeting, the women were there, and it is consensus building, they were part of the consensus building. So I guess they were used to that. That's why when Legazpi came, they were surprised when they were met by the Dato and the wife was with him. You know, and they said, what is she doing here, diba? But you know, it was very natural for the datus and the leaders of the community to have the women around.
And importance given to women.
Yeah, maybe they are not the great talkers, they don't participate so much, but they are there.
Okay, how do you explain India?
I don't know much about Indian history, but my impression is because it's such a huge continent. They have to have wars here and there to conquer the territories and to grow their territory and their authority. And for that, you really need weapons and a lot of killing and warfare.
Brute strength.
Yeah, and strength. But there were also women leaders. I have seen an Indian film of a great woman leader, very much respected and, you know.
Pero it's more of an exception than the rule.
Maybe, but you know, if you are a monarchy, they have had queens too. They have had bad kings, bad queens and all that. But generally, really, patriarchy is still present, especially in the remote areas.
And
where violence against women is committed.
There's so much violence in the news now. International news, there's so much violence committed against women in India. So what can you say about that? This is now the modern times, and India is supposed to be one of the richest countries, in the biggest economies in the world now.
India has no monopoly. Violence against women is all over the world, varying in degrees. But you know, it's because of media, entertainment, movies, reading literature, all of this. When passions are aroused, women are passive and they they are aroused and they are just there passive and victims.
Okay.
So that kind of culture pervades all over. And so when women are just suddenly alone by themselves in the dark, parang the men's instinct is just to take advantage of the situation. Because literature portrays it like that, that the women are simply passive, they have no decision over their bodies, they just have to succumb to all this. Well, maybe that has to be changed. And it is changing in some films, but not generally, no.
So mass media, at the present time, modern times, it has a really big influence on...
Very big.
Okay,
very
on perpetuating the culture of violence against women.
And all that, yeah.
Okay. What about Japan? Supposed to be one of the most modern countries in the world.
Yeah, but I admire the Japanese women now. Huh? They are asserting themselves, and many of them are not even wanting to get married anymore. So the population in Japan is a problem. But you know, but the same thing. They have to be. They have many feudal lords, warfare here, warfare there. So they develop all their weapons, and they have to expand their territories, and to assert their authorities, it's always with the sword. Yeah.
Which did not happen in the Philippines.
In the Philippines, it did not happen because we had small units.
Okay.
Ethnic groups by themselves can coexist and trade with each other. Of course, they had to fight now and then, but then they have the peace pacts, they have the alliances and all this. I think we are more of the people who would like to have more peace than war.
Okay. And that search for peace, the need for peace, the practice of peace leads to equality, gender equality.
Yes, yes.
Okay, that explains why we are like this here in the Philippines.
Yeah, like
okay,
this.
we will talk more about the different issues concerning women empowerment when ASEAN in Focus Weekend Edition returns.
Visiting the Philippines, Manila or Quezon City is a popular destination. But oftentimes the hustle and bustle of the city can be more stressful on your vacation. So when you feel the need to reconnect to nature or relax again, there's a beautiful oasis just outside of the city called the Garden at Ciudad de Victoria. That you can see here include hydrangea, snapdragon, and stargazers. They're truly beautiful. The gardens at Ciudad de Victoria are so peaceful, tranquil, and beautiful that it's become a haven for young couples and a very popular venue for engagement photos. The next time you want an escape from the big city, the garden at Ciudad de Victoria is a wonderful place to visit.
Welcome back to ASEAN in Focus Weekend Edition, and we're still here with Dr. Fe Mangahas, and we're still discussing about women empowerment. In spite of the influence of the women here in the Philippines, historical experience, you cannot say that we belong to a matriarchal society.
No. To be matriarchal would mean women are dominant.
Okay.
Women control things. Women decide many big decisions for the country, and that is not so.
So it's not control, it's
not
respect.
control. it's being caring and loving and mutual. There should be
Okay.
mutuality in the sharing of power.
It says so much about the kind of mothers we have here
Yeah,
compared to the mothers of other countries, or
I guess
parang
so.
motherhood instinct is supposed to be universal, but what can you say about mothers in the
I
Philippines?
think we have more good mothers than other countries
Okay.
because I generally observe men are more makananay. They like mothers. If you ask men generally, they think of their mothers more highly than fathers. Seldom do I.
They're closer to their mothers.
Closer.
Pero hindi ibig sabihin mama's boy.
No, not necessarily. But they really look up to mothers.
Yeah.
And because I think the role of the mother is something very, very deep, because from infancy to childhood up to grown up, the mother is always there to advise, to counsel, to help, to comfort. And you know, the men are always out of the house, so
Okay.
it's mostly the mother who take care of all these things.
But how do you compare that with other countries? How do you explain that?
Well, in other countries, they would aspire for jobs, for success in careers,
Okay.
for being independent, you know, and successful and all that. But not Filipino women. Women they really prioritize the home.
But isn't that happening right now in the Philippines? The modern mothers, they
Oh
tend
yes,
to go
it's
out
happening,
also. Okay.
but they also take care. You know, multitasking is not new to Filipino women.
Okay. Did you have studies also on the effects of mothers going out of the country to work, OFWs?
The effects, it depends on the kind of women who go out to work. Because
Okay.
we also had a PDOS, you know,
Pre-departure
pre-departure,
orientation
yes.
seminar.
And we observed that women don't want to leave the children unattended also. While they work
Okay.
abroad, they still pay attention a lot to the
Okay.
children.
Okay.
Of course, it is difficult on the women. That's why we also encourage the men now to be housebound, to be house husband.
Okay.
Because we don't look down on men who become house husbands, because that's a very important task to keep the family whole and healthy and happy, you know.
So how do you predict this whole being mother thing will happen in the Philippines, given the effects of modernization, given the effects of, you know, women going to work, going abroad?
Well, I have no idea when we have no studies also at the
Okay.
moment, but just looking at what's going on, we observe so many OFWs going out and they're all happy families, diba? But there are tragedies, there are
Okay.
tragic stories, but they are more exemptions to the rule.
You also worked with under different presidents in the Philippines.
Yeah, I
okay?
worked
You
with-
worked with Marcos?
Yes, we have
Okay.
President Marcos, President Cory,
Okay.
then President Ramos, and then Pinoy.
Pinoy.
President Pinoy.
Okay. So you were there when can you comment on their policies towards women empowerment? Let's start with Marcos.
Well, I think Marcos was a typical Ilocano president who was, I don't think he was really sexist in the real sense of the
Okay.
word. He had this fatherly instinct
Okay.
and respect for women, especially beautiful women. But you know, he was offensive to me in the sense that when he said the women cannot be president, when Cory was running, remember?
Yes, yes.
And Cory fought back and he said, we're not only good for the bedroom, you know, we can be president as well. That was really good on the part of Cory to assert women's rights. And Marcos had Imelda Marcos. Well, in that
A
sense,
very powerful woman.
yeah, who became powerful. She was at the beginning a very simple, unassuming congressman's wife, and not assertive at all. But towards the end, she became very powerful.
It was during Marcos' time when the NCRFW, National Commission on the Rights
On
of
the role of- the role
all
of Filipino women,
was established. So
yes.
what does this say about Marcos' presidency?
Well, at least there was recognition that there was a need for a commission on women to pay attention to women's problems. And Imelda was on top of it, but it was mostly elitist women there.
Okay, the
Not
blue ladies.
not
I remember those,
representative
the
of the
blue ladies.
society where women are down there below. Yeah,
So,
good
and then,
beginning, but not enough.
and then Cory, what about women's rights during Cory Aquino's
Cory
time?
herself is a symbol for women.
Okay.
The fact that she fought the dictator, Amacho, and that she won the presidency. But you know, it was also under the wings and popularity of a man. Ninoy.
Okay.
So you cannot say that it was entirely her own merit,
Yes,
her own doing, you know. So in a way, but she was not practically offensive, or she did not neglect the women in a sense, but she was not also more assertive. She could have been more assertive
Yes,
of
yes.
women's rights. I think it was Fidel Ramos who had more women's laws passed,
Okay.
and on account of Senator Leticia Ramos Shahani, who was there.
Okay.
She was there, and in the Commission on Women, Senator Shahani was really
Very active, very vocal.
active and very
Okay.
vocal about women's rights. And we gained so much. We were even able to put the women's desk in the police.
Okay.
I think we are the only police department in the whole ASEAN with the police women's desk.
Okay. Women's
And
and
that's
children's
really a
desk.
big step. And many women's rights were gained during Fidel Ramos' time. But they need full implementation. They're
Okay.
still weak in implementing.
So after Ramos, the short-lived Estrada regime,
It was short-lived, and thank God, he did in a way, because I don't remember anything he has done for women. Maybe he did, but
yeah, he married many
doesn't-
women. Sorry.
he did not register any women's law.
Okay, what about the next person was a woman also? Gloria Macapagal
Gloria
Arroyo.
Macapagal Arroyo. Well, she was good because it again put women in the limelight as president. But you know, being woman president does not mean you really become really woman. To stay there, you have to be like a man.
Okay.
So she probably did not have as much achievements as Ramos, because Leticia Shahani was there and she was the sister of the president, and she had many other problems. So I don't think she really did a lot for women.
You stayed on until Pinoy.
Pinoy also was, well, you judge the president when he appoints a cabinet member.
Women cabinet
Yeah,
members.
and Pinoy had women cabinet member, and Gloria Macapagal, and Ramos, everybody else. I don't think Arab had a woman cabinet member.
GMA was a cabinet member.
At that
She
time.
handled
Yes.
social works and development.
Yes.
Okay, pero it's very interesting, our women president, we had two actually. That's the most in our region, except Indonesia. They had a women president, Megawati, and then the others, Aung San Suu Kyi, of course, in Myanmar. But the others, they're mostly men as leaders. What you're saying, in fact, was that the contributions of our women presidents were more of a symbolism.
Yes,
Diba?
well said.
Our societies
Yeah.
are able to, our society is able to elect women leaders.
Yeah.
But in terms of real accomplishment for women's rights, it was actually a male president, Fidel V. Ramos. But of course, because of the
Sister, who
influence
was-
of the sister,
who was
the
a senator at the time.
former Senator Lito Ramos Shahani. But what does it say about our society? Yung ganun, we are able to comment on that. What does it say about our society? We are able to elect women leaders.
Well, that means that we are not as sexist as the other countries, because we have elected 2 women presidents, which is an achievement in the region. And also, I don't think we totally discriminate. We are not so as discriminatory to women as the other countries. For example, in television, we have more women broadcasters. In cinema, we have women directors. Women can function pretty good in any area, and the men do not put down or insult them.
So this is a carryover of our traditional Filipino
Right.
culture, where we give respect and recognition
We
to
have
women.
been used to women being there from the beginning as part of the leadership. As I said, you have the Datu, Panday, the warrior, and the Babaylan. So it was not strange that they continue to be there. But
Okay.
whether they really pursue women's rights as women, as head, is something else.
Yes. And what you said earlier, it was really a male president where women really gained more rights and recognition
Because she
during
had
the
a
present
sister
dispensation.
who really pushed hard on it.
Okay.
And also, President Ramos must have understood it, because she had daughters, and
yes.
she had sisters, 2 sisters, who were all trained to be affirmative women, and their own mother was...
And his wife was a professional by herself.
Yes, and his mother was part of the women's suffrage movement.
Okay, that
That
explains,
explains his
the progressiveness of the...
sensitivity, yes. they're like
Okay,
this.
we will talk more about the different issues concerning women empowerment when ASEAN in Focus Weekend Edition returns.
Net25 is now available on OSN, the largest entertainment network in the Middle East and North Africa.
Watch your favorite Net25 shows on OSN Channel 725, same day as the Philippines.
Net25 shows live and on demand anytime, anywhere.
On any mobile device on OSN Play.
Innovation, digital disruption, globalization. Startups, micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations, all face interesting challenges in the market today. Peek into the world of exciting opportunities and partnerships to drive growth with the latest business news and information. We are open for business. Join the conversations to create a more vibrant environment for entrepreneurship. Catch Open for Business every Saturday from 5 to 6 p.m. Open for Business, from vision to action. Accurate and fair reporting. Not only from Batanes to Tawi-Tawi, but also abroad. Detailed and timely stories relevant to people all over the world. Catch all of these at Net25, your reliable source of news, entertainment, and technology updates.
Landmarks, Linggo, alas 6 hanggang alas 7 ng gabi.
What can you do? They exist.
Welcome back to ASEAN in Focus Weekend Edition, and we're still here with Dr. Fe Mangahas, and we're still discussing about women empowerment. Doon sa second block natin kanina, we jumped to how do you describe the different administrations and their concerns for women. Pero actually, tumalon tayo. Let's go back a little konti. What happened to women empowerment, the issues of women equality, when our colonizers came? Kasi sabi nyo kanina, during the pre-Hispanic, during the pre-colonial times, women, there's no really issue on gender issues because there's the respect and equality for women. So how was it when the Spaniards and the Americans came?
Well, under Spain, when they lost their small family plots where everybody worked together, and it became private property, and the farmers were now put into haciendas where they have to work as laborers. The women were limited to the household. See, and it became like a patriarchal society because governance, everything was in the hands of the men. The women were just pushed back to domestic roles.
So it was a regression.
It was a regression.
On women's role in the
continuous
society.
regression. Yes.
And then...
and women were held as objects already.
That's during the Spanish...
It began with the Spanish period because I don't think we had a more liberal ways of dealing with love matters or sexual matters in pre-colonial times. But under Spain, they were very, very strict. What was good, what was sinful about this and about that, you know.
And then came the Americans. What happened?
Well,
More
the Americans, you would be surprised, they wanted to give the Filipino women the right to vote right away.
Suffrage.
Suffrage. But, you know, our educated women were more keen on education. Okay. More on education, more on hospitals, more on health work, because at that time, after the Philippine-American War, there was high infant mortality. because, you know, during the Philippine-American War, there was this problem of rice production, and the Carabals were killed and all that. They were dead. So we had a shortage of rice. They have to import white rice. And we were used to eating red rice, rich in vitamin B. So without the vitamin B, the mothers were lactating, and so the children were suffering from beriberi. But we also found the cure, which is tiki-tiki, di ba? But you know, women we said we would rather educate the women about health matters, about sanitation, about many things, and educating them, putting them into colleges, not just elementary, going to college and having professions, rather than getting the vote right away, because they have a sense that going into politics was not that urgent for them.
For women.
Not for men. They wanted politics for the men to take care of it, because there were many problems in society that required the attention of women. So I think they were wise women in that sense, because the infant mortality was so high because it was so high, we could have been depopulated at some point. We could have been depopulated, and it was these women who were being given the suffrage who said, no, we set it aside, we'll take it up later.
It's not a priority.
We will pay attention to infant mortality.
Okay. So, and now we have, of course, the women are back. And then we have the Magna Carta for women.
We have moved forward.
This
we
is
have
during
many rights.
This is during the time of Ramos?
President Ramos.
Okay, so what's in the Magna Carta?
Well, practically all women's rights are covered there. Your economic rights, your political, practically everything. But I think there it's more, the OFW women are really given more rights under the law. And jobs and all forms of discrimination are attended to. And violence against women is really prioritized.
Okay, a program of government is, of course, the Gender and Development Program. All government agencies are supposed to have their GAD.
Yeah, we were, under Ramos, he issued an order that 5% of every agency's budget should go to women and development. But I don't know if it is being monitored or where the money actually goes, you know.
As far as I know, because I've been with government for the longest time, we had allocations for women, gender and development, mostly trainings on women's rights, sexual harassment, modules in the offices.
Yeah, I wish they would give more onto small and medium enterprises.
Okay.
Because women who are really in the poorest sector of our society can be helped a lot if they are given loans, easy loans or money capital, because they can be very entrepreneurial. Women can be very entrepreneurial because they know how to budget and they know how to allocate their resources once they have it.
Okay, so of course, you're a leading scholar, practitioner of women's rights. What else should be done now to promote the the rights of women in the Philippines?
Well, I'm really bothered by media, the entertainment world.
They're not gender sensitive.
They are not, and women are just projected as sex objects generally. Even the films, all these romantic loves, you know, playing on the emotions as if women cannot live without love. You know, they're all lovesick creatures. So I said, what's going on? Why can we not put some of the money into, like, women who want to have their own little businesses, women who want to go into other professions, more challenging jobs, you know. But we don't have such programs for women, even in the universities.
Even in the universities?
Yeah. Maybe they should encourage women to go into more in sciences, research, where you discover new medicines, new this. I don't find that happening. So
media has a big role in really promoting.
Media to me is the major problem. Major.
Do we lack promotion of Filipino heroines?
Yes, we do. We do. I wish they would have a film on Gregorio de Jesus. I wish they would have a film on the suffragettes.
Suffragettes?
Yes, the women in suffrage. And we have to have good scriptwriters, backed up by good historians, you know, to really have to complete that story. But because so far we only have half of the story.
we don't, compared to other neighbors, even our more progressive neighbors, we don't have problems in salary, issues when it comes to gender in the Philippines. So what can you say about this?
I don't know because, the women earn more most of the times.
Naniniwala kayo doon na mas malalaki ang mga sweldo ng mga babae kaysa sa mga lalaki? Most of the time.
Most of
Okay.
the times, I guess the women
Why? Kasi this is a recurring issue. I always read this when
Because for one thing,
sa US, for example, this is a big
you don't
issue.
notice it, but for one thing, the men are required to turn in their salaries to the women. You are so used to it that you don't even notice it, and you don't even question it. And all over the world, the husbands don't turn their entire salary to the wife,
That
to
says
take
a lot
care
about
of it.
our Filipino
Yeah,
culture,
but
Philippine
some
society.
activists would tell me, but for once they give you their measly salary, you have to make both ends meet. But I said, if you're a woman, really woman, you would also earn some more money to
Yes.
put in there and budget it well, di ba? You just won't depend on your husband for the budget of the home. And that is why also the men are happy about that, because if they're not earning much and they turn it over to the wife, and the wife is so efficient and they eat well and they are at peace with the world,
That says a lot about women talaga in Philippine society.
That's right. Nobody questions it, but in other countries,
Di ba sa
which
US?
husband will turn over in entire salary?
No, that's out of the question. I
Out
think.
of the question. For
Pero
them.
yung issue sa kanila, for example, in the US, yung equality in pay, di ba? We read that even the Hollywood stars, di ba? They're supposed to be big stars, but the male stars get more than the female stars.
Because that's the way it is there. They really privilege the men. But here, if the women function even better than the men, sometimes in the same job, so they get the same salary. So I think we are more
women are
democratic.
happier here, generally happier here.
Generally happier. I guess so.
Okay, we will talk more about the different issues concerning
Except
women.
when there is violence against women.
We will talk more about the different issues concerning women empowerment when ASEAN in Focus Weekend Edition returns. Welcome back to ASEAN in Focus Weekend Edition, and we're now on our last block of interview with Dr. Fe Mangahas, and we're still talking of human rights, women's rights. There's this notion that human rights is a Western concept?
Well, everybody says everything good comes from the West. Maybe, in a sense, there is something universal about values. And so I suppose we have it in our own culture also. But maybe the West had articulated it earlier or
Okay.
asserted it more. But due to our colonial history, we somehow lost it. But if you go back to the Katipunan principles, their principle of kalayaan is we are entitled to freedom, all of us, regardless of ethnicity, regardless of sex, regardless of class, regardless of religion, because we are all human beings. Tao tayo. Tao.
Okay.
And katauhan, humanity, is very, very, relationship is
Okay.
very, very important to Filipinos in early times. Even in the small barangay, in the small family barangay and other units, even the leader is expected to be,
Yes.
nag-aalaga, caring for the sakop and his authority over his constituents. So that is based on treating everybody equally,
Okay.
lovingly, fairly, and all that. I think it's ingrained in the Filipino culture, or every culture, I guess. We probably went through some violent times when we were still headhunting,
Yes, yes.
when we were still primitive and evolving as human beings. But every human race, every nationality, I went through that and evolved that. It's only the West who was able to articulate it for the world, the United Nations and all that.
I would like to see it also as at least yung pre-colonial period sa Philippines.
Yeah.
It's not that we did not articulate that kasi it's part of us.
Part of
we
us,
don't
and
talk
yeah,
about
we don't
it.
talk about
Parang
it, right.
average yung the Eskimos daw, they when you say white, diba, they have different diba, they have different
Notion of whiteness.
pero sa atin kasi parang we don't talk about this anymore because it's part of us. Why do we need to talk about it? It's a non-issue.
Tao, it's a human being. We have a saying, madaling maging tao, mahirap magpakatao. It's easy to be born, but to be human is something that you really pay attention to.
So for the Philippines, it's not a matter of articulating it. We don't need articulation since we were living it already.
Living
Parang,
already, yes. As a
okay.
communal people
Yes, yes.
from the beginning. And then when we're being colonized, that's when we started being divided and imbibing other values.
So the accident, quote unquote, of colonization really led to regression when it comes to women empowerment in the Philippines.
And in everything, I think, even political concepts, everything, because we were not able to evolve freely on our own. There was always this intervention or problems coming from the outside that we have to reckon with, and they kept dividing us. They kept dividing us for their own purposes, and we paid a lot for that.
Okay, ang isang issue sa women's empowerment, they say that masyado kasing maiingay itong mga babaeng to. That's why sometimes I hear some of my colleagues say we need to promote male empowerment, not because we have been so dominated by feminists. So what can you say about that?
It can happen that women can be offensive too.
Okay.
It can
You
happen.
admit that?
I admit that women can be oppressive also, but that is a reaction to something that we have felt, that we are so helpless, and sometimes the projection is not good.
Okay.
But we have to be aware as women that the only way for us not to become like the enemy that we hate, we have to behave also, and we have to temper ourselves and to be reasonable and to assert it in a way that will really bridge the gap rather than widen the gap.
Kaya lang, yung narrative, isn't it, if the narrative is, hey, we just need to go back to where we came from, wherein feminism, gender empowerment is not an issue because we were
It
living
is
it.
still an issue. It still is an
But I mean,
issue.
for if we need to, if we change the narrative na, let's just go back to where we were before the colonizers came.
You cannot go back to that because now it's no longer a communal society.
Okay.
We are pretty much divided by economics, by politics, by gender, by so many things, by religions. So the thing to do is for women to assert our rights within reasonable grounds, that we can reason it out, but that we don't become violent ourselves, we don't talk too much, that we behave ourselves too, diba, within limits. But if we become very, very atrocious also, and violent, and as you said, talking. But you know, you need a lot of sensible talk rather than just talking and chatter and all that.
Okay, I go back to my previous question. So, what are the issues now that need to be addressed, need to be highlighted when we talk of women empowerment in the Philippines?
I think the president should take a look at our media, especially the entertainment
Talagang
world.
media, no?
Because I watch a lot of TV,
Okay.
television. We can improve the roles of women, the makeup of women, the way we dress and all that.
Yes.
The commercialism, the sexism, that is so prevalent in media. The other thing is maybe also in religion, in some religions, women are told to be subordinate. But so, we cannot be just subordinate. Men and women should be subordinate to each other, depending on the issue.
Equal.
Equal subordination, so that you can work together what the problem is. It cannot be that just one gender is subordinate to the other. That can really lead to abuse, diba? So that's another issue. Religion, who preach that, you know, women are to be subordinate, and don't take that literally, because if you look at the scripture, there is a bawi, there is a counter to that statement that says, so also the men must love. Women, be subordinate to men. And then the men are told, men, love the women. See?
Okay.
Because the men are not lovable to women. So they're being told to love the women. And the women are not obedient because we are not loved. So we are told to be
May mga magre-react dito sa mamaya.
to be subordinate, subordinate to love, you know,
Yes,
so
yes.
we can love freely, both of us.
Okay, what else? Ano pang issue? Women as providers, family providers, economic providers.
There should be shifting roles. You cannot be assured of job forever.
Okay.
Neither one of us. So in case of emergencies, we can shift roles, we can share the expenses, and somebody will have to stay home. Sometimes it could be the man, it could be the woman. There should be shifting of roles. Because economy is so unpredictable.
Yes, yes. And then, of course, the role of mothers.
Mothers should also encourage the men to be caring to the children.
Is that natural in our culture?
Well, if you observe our men from the Cordilleras, the ethnic groups, some of them, they take care of the babies. They don't find it bakla or womanly to take care of their babies, their infants. They shift roles in taking care of the baby. And we find this in other households, even the poor communities now. I observe it among the urban poor. It's no issue anymore. Whoever can stay in the house and take care. I used to have a katulong kasambahay. Now she is on her own. She got married. She drives this tricycle, and the man stays home. Why? Because she has more strength, and she can withstand the rigor. And the man said, "Okay, I stay home." Or they ship once in a while, but it's mostly she was the one, because she's the only one who can really manage the vehicle. So what can you do with that? They agree. They're happy.
So, final question, what's the future of women empowerment in the Philippines?
I see it positively, because the women now, with more education, with more opportunities, will not become tyrants. I think we will be more loving.
And we will continue to be up there on top of the world when it comes to women empowerment.
I guess so.
Okay.
Because we have a strong tradition, and it has been kept by our women.
Okay, thank you very much,
Thank you,
Dr.
Dean.
Manghas. Thank you
Thank you,
for
Dean.
gracing our program. Thank you for this very wonderful interview. Okay, thank you very much. That's all, folks. I'm Kaloy Tabunda, and I'm 1 with 25.
In the heart of West Palm Beach, Florida, just outside of the downtown area, this hidden gem shows a unique look of what the city has to offer. This strip of refurbished warehouses has been turned into an oasis of indie food and retail vendors just inside the industrial zone of West Palm Beach, Florida. This is the Warehouse District.
Foodie alert! Palm Beach's foodie city just got a little tastier. Market halls are sweeping the nation as a creative and unique dining experience for all. The Grandview Public Market is a chef-driven market hall and event space, showcasing 12 food vendors, all with different flavors and tastes to offer. Everything from fresh brewed coffee for those who need their caffeine fix, tacos, pizza, and for the sweet tooths out there, ice cream. The Ramen Lab Eatery is a local favorite, serving up delicious ramen from local and seasonal ingredients. Its sister, the Poke Lab Eatery, is no exception, with its fresh ingredients tossed in their Hawaiian-inspired poke bowls. Saving the best for last, dessert. Crema serves up delicious Thai-rolled ice cream, a very popular foodie trend. You're sure to find something here that will satisfy any food craving. Vendors strive to use the best and freshest ingredients in their dishes to provide quality and delicious food to all guests who walk through the Grandview Public Market doors. You can warm up and enjoy your food outside on the loading dock, a 2,500 square foot outdoor seating area just outside of the market hall. Or if the South Florida heat is too much for you, the living room might be another alternative. A lounge area also seconds as a dining area with board games, making it a great place to relax and network. The outside garden is filled with murals, sculptures, and landscape designs created by local artists, bringing their talents to the community. All the warehouses are connected by the railway. A 700 linear foot former rail line run behind the buildings now serves as a walkway lined with plastic flamingos, an ode to Palm Beach aesthetic. The Elizabeth Ave Station is a curated retail market, event space, communal workspace created by Gather and Seek, showcasing 9 vendors selling art, furniture, clothing, jewelry, plants, pottery, and other homegrown goods. The communal workspace blends right into the retail space, giving you a relaxed and creative vibe while working. Some cool finds include vintage vinyl records, boogie boards, and penny skateboards, and even little trinkets that can be a fun and unique gift. The station also hosts yoga classes right outside, taught by local instructors, community barbecues, live concerts, and kids events. A full calendar of events can be found on their website and social media pages.
The West Palm Beach Warehouse District offers an eclectic mix of food and shopping with fun and games for everyone. So if you're ever in the West Palm Beach area, come visit the Warehouse District. Signing off from West Palm Beach, Florida, I'm Alyssa Urtula, always 1 with 25.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to leave some love by giving it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe here at ABC Digital Nest so you don't miss any of our upcoming features.
Thank you.